Hi everybody, thank you very much. I'm Orlando Ruiz Jr. and welcome to another classic movie review. I'm talking about a film from the 1940s, an animated film, a Disney film, a movie that I watched as a kid, rewatched again as an adult recently, and kind of fell in love with this movie all over again. I'm talking about Dumbo. This is one of those movies that as a kid was definitely a very sad movie to watch, and as an adult, I can really appreciate a lot of the themes and messages in the film. Beautiful animation. This movie just doesn't have one director, but there were actually several credited as directors on the film. The supervisor director, Ben Sharpsteen, and the sequence directors, Norman Ferguson, Bill Roberts, Jack Kenny, Wilfred Jackson, Samuel Armstrong. And at the very beginning of the film, we have narration by Sterling Holloway, who also played the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland, also was the voice of Winnie the Pooh. So at the very beginning of the film, a mama elephant from the circus gets a little bundle of joy by the stork and opens it up. Turns out to be her little baby elephant. And all of a sudden, everybody notices that this baby elephant has a physical attribute that is a little different than the rest of them. And so because of that, they have a little nickname. It ends up being, of course, Dumbo. Dumbo has no lines in this movie, and there's so much emotion that you get out of this character in terms of the animation with the eyes. Dumbo has the saddest eyes. I don't care how much of a tough guy you think you are. You watch this movie, if you have a heart, at least a little bit of a heart, there's no way you can't watch this movie and relate to a lot of the sad experiences that this animal goes through. And there are some great messages put in this movie for us adults and kids as well. You know, there are messages about animal abuse and also accepting oneself with your differences and so-called imperfections and flaws, but also great messages of tolerating and accepting other people for being different. And I think it's a very important story. I think it's a great character. And there are parts of the movie that are going to feel dated for people. There are certain stereotypes in the movie that are pretty obvious, especially with certain characters that I'll get to. But overall, I think this is a really nice story. Dumbo might not have any lines in the film, but there are a lot of other characters as far as other animals in the movie that have plenty to say, one being the mouse that befriends Dumbo in the film. By the end of the first act, things take a pretty sad turn for Dumbo and his mom, and Dumbo basically has one sad experience after another, and he kind of just has to endure these hardships, but he has Timothy by his side to help him, and Timothy is always there to try and cheer Dumbo up whenever Dumbo is depressed. And Dumbo is depressed a lot throughout this movie. And every now and then there are moments when, Dumbo does get a little bit of relief and comfort, and those moments are real sweet, by the way. But for the most part, yeah, it's kind of a downer for a lot of it, but there are some great moments towards the end that really pay off emotionally. Like other early Disney movies, Dumbo is not without its creepy parts. There's a certain section of the film where Dumbo accidentally gets into some water that's tainted, and so he gets a little tipsy, and to the point where he and Timothy see pink elephants because Timothy also drinks some of the water, samples it, I guess. And yeah, it's a pretty cool sequence actually, but there are some moments of spooky pink elephants making like scary mean faces that might be a little kind of creepy for little children, but very cool animation in that sequence. Very cool use of pink and blues and just the shades of colors there is really beautiful to look at. There's nothing too creepy though, nothing like the Pleasure Island sequence in Pinocchio. That scene is the stuff of nightmares there. But yeah, the pink elephant scene, it's basically, they're trying to teach kids about the dangers of alcohol. Very much like in Pinocchio, they were trying to show, the dangers of smoking when Pinocchio's smoking cigars and actually swallows the smoke and turns green. So, I do appreciate that with a lot of these early Disney movies. They were trying to incorporate some kind of a positive message to give to little kids. My personal favorite scene in the movie is the scene where Dumbo and his little buddy Timothy wake up in a tree and they meet a group of crows, which are very obviously black stereotypes, but that scene is one of the best scenes in the entire film because those characters really do add a lot of energy to the movie. I know that some people might be rubbed the wrong way because they are very heavily black stereotypes of the time, But I think it's a very fun part of the movie. I really enjoy the characters, and they actually have a very good function to the story. They actually help Dumbo achieve a very important goal. I also watch movies and get irritated at certain things, like even though Rio Bravo is one of my favorite westerns, I too get irritated at certain parts, like with the character of Carlos in that movie, which, that classic kind of stereotype back in the 50s when the Mexicans all talk like this, like Speedy Gonzalez, that kind of, irritates me. But I understand it's an old 50s movie, so, I get over it pretty quickly. So when it's something like this with the, crows in this movie, even though it's very obvious that they're supposed to be based on like a Cab Calloway or Louis Armstrong, and it's kind of bothersome that the main crow, which is Jim Crow, well, Dandy Jim Crow, but really, they had him named Jim Crow uh, in like their script and stuff, which is pretty messed up. It's messed up that this character is actually voiced by a white dude as well, but given that it's the 40s, I'm not that surprised, At least it was the guy that did the voice for Jiminy Cricket, pretty talented voice guy. But yeah, overall, I do recommend Dumbo. I think this is a great experience for kids and adults. I think the animation still holds up beautifully. I think it's a great story. The character Dumbo is an endearing character, a lovable character. There is so much to love about this movie. I do give this movie 4 stars. If you have Disney Plus, and no doubt you can find Dumbo and watch it, no problem at all. But if you want to get yourself a hard copy before they're all gone, nothing wrong with that. I personally prefer hard copies myself. This is my personal copy of Dumbo right here. Actually, the family copy. But yeah, Dumbo flying through the air. Spoiler, uh-oh. I mean, it's on the cover, people. What can I say? 1941. Great animated flick. Highly recommend. Thank you all very much for watching this classic movie review. I always appreciate it. If you're into the classics, if you're into movies, if you're into this kind of thing, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're a returning viewer, thank you very much for your support. I very much appreciate it. Everybody take care of each other. Till next time, God bless and peace out.